Volant de la Ferrari. Les moteurs tournent maintenant, les voitures vont partir pour le tour de chauffe de ce Grand Prix de Saint-Marin sur ce circuit d'Imola, long de 5 km et 40 mètres et une distance qu'il faudra parcourir à 60 fois, soit un total de 302 km 400. On précisera que le record du tour est détenu par Patrese, qui au volant de sa Brabham BMW l'an dernier avait tourné en 1:34 437, soit à la moyenne de 192,128 km/h. Les particularités de ce circuit, il y a ici cette longue courbe à gauche que l'on appelle le tamburello, suivi après du freinage très caractéristique et très serré de la tosa où doivent être massés plusieurs dizaines de milliers de spectateurs. Il est bien sûr difficile de dire, alors qu'en surimpression vous avez les vitesses, quatrième, deuxième, quatrième, et tout cela dépend encore des rapports qu'on indique dans les boîtes, donc il ne faut pas y prêter trop d'attention. Quant aux vitesses que vous voyez, cela veut dire que dans le virage de la Tosa, on est à 105 km/h, juste avant le freinage à 300, et puis au haut de la petite bosse environ à 220, des vitesses relativement, disons, à utiliser avec une relative précaution, car elles ne sont pas tout à fait absolues. Le passage dit Piratella, puis la descente vertigineuse et étroite sur la chicane de l'Aqua Minerale. Une chicane à la sortie de laquelle, vous l'avez revu il y a quelques instants, Patrese avait vu s'envoler ses espoirs de remporter l'an dernier ce Grand Prix de Saint-Marin. Puis après cela, on se dirige vers une autre chicane, la variante Alta, à très haute vitesse, et une descente tout aussi vertigineuse et à des vitesses très impressionnantes sur la double courbe à gauche de Rivazza. Le petit manège habituel des pneus que l'on chauffe, et Piquet devant Prost, Rosberg, Warwick, Lauda, Arnoux.
The 25 starters on the circuit, almost up to the Variante Bassa and the Traguardo, which lead up to the starting grid. 25 because Andrea De Cesaris in the Ligier, the Italian driver, who was to have started 12th on the grid, came out too late to join the official warm-up lap. And as Alain Prost had to do in South Africa, De Cesaris here has got to start the San Marino Grand Prix from the exit of the pit lane. A considerable disadvantage, of course, because it means that he will start in 26th position instead of the 12th position he was hoping for. So there you see the pole position man on your right in the white and blue Brabham. No engine problems in practice. It is Nelson Piquet, the reigning world champion. And in the red and white Marlboro McLaren leading up to the grid, actually, is the man who's leading the world championship, Alain Prost, with a 5-point advantage over Derek Warwick, who you see in 4th position on the grid. And the 3rd position car behind Nelson Piquet is Keke Rosberg. 5th on the grid is Lauda. 6th on the grid, the leading Ferrari of René Arnoux. Watch the lights. It's go, and a very bad start there from Niki Lauda, left on the line, and also badly left is it looks like one of the Williams cars as Prost takes the lead, going round the left-hander at the Tambirello. Keke Rosberg left at the start, as he was at Zolder last weekend. So another very bad start. Keke seems to have big problems getting the car away. Well, Prost is leading, Piquet is second, Derek Warwick is third, and up to 4th position already from 6th place is Arnoux, as off goes, I can't identify him from here.
I think it was one of the Renaults, Murray. I didn't get a good look, but whoever it was looked terminally wounded anyway, because he had a front wheel all awry, so there was obviously a little bit of pushing and shoving there at the first corner. Of course, at the start, these turbocharged engines really are very difficult to keep running at high revs, but without a lot of load. And we have seen, and yes, it is one of the Renaults. I can't see...
It's definitely Tombay then, Patrick Tombay, because Derek Warwick was up into third position. And there he goes. And look at the lead they have over Alboreto as the leader here. Alain Prost goes through with Nelson Piquet in second position, with Derek Warwick in the Renault in third place, with René Arnoux up to fourth from sixth on the grid. Coming through to complete lap one in this 60-lap race, there's Arnoux fourth. Manfred Winkelhock in the ATS is in fifth position, and Michele Alboreto is in sixth place, having come up all the way from 13th position. Jonathan Palmer, I can tell you, was also left at the start, but has now got away well in the race, all being well down at the end of it, as Prost leads. And the McLarens are beautifully balanced for this circuit. Prost was very confident indeed. See what Warwick closing up on Piquet. There is Arnoux fourth. And still Manfred Winkelhock, who's going superbly this season in the ATS, in fifth position. And I think, we'll check in a minute, Michele Alboreto in sixth place.
Yes, Alain Prost is into the pits. Eddie Cheever. And that's a bit of an early one. They're changing rear tyres. That may be routine, but I think he's... No, they've just changed the rear tyre. Maybe he damaged a wheel. He might well have been involved in that little... incident that put Tambay out, because it was pretty sure from what we saw of it that he touched another car. But Prost is looking extremely dominant already. He's looking relaxed, and he's pulled a very big lead for a lap and a half into the race.
So Nelson Piquet second, Derek Warwick in third position. And you can see that Prost, who's leading the World Championship, having won in Brazil and second in South Africa, is, as James said, building up a terrific cushion. It looks to me as though Arnoux is gaining a bit, but Michele Alboreto is the man to watch at the present moment. In sixth place, closing up on Winkelhock, who is fifth, and Alboreto has already gained 7 places in 2 laps. Prost, Piquet second, Warwick third, Arnoux fourth, Winkelhock fifth, Alboreto in sixth position as they come round the Tamburello at about 180 miles an hour. Derek Warwick getting to grips now with the Brabham BMW of Nelson Piquet as Arnoux comes round there at the Tosa now, and Alboreto is right up with Winkelhock. We're going to see the Ferraris charging.
Yes, we are indeed, and the other big point of interest is to see if Derek Warwick can put on any speed if and when he can get past Nelson Piquet. They've got that... he's got the eternal problem that the Brabham is so quick in a straight line, the BMW engine is very powerful, makes him awfully difficult to pass, but I get the strong impression that with a clear road in front of him, Derek Warwick would be going a little bit quicker, and looks as if he'd be one of the people who could do something possibly about stopping Prost drive, steadily increasing his lead, as he's doing now.
Yes, Derek Warwick in terrific form this season. He led in Brazil. That's number 16 with the blue flashes on the rear wing of his Renault. There he is in third position, having led in Brazil, third position in South Africa, second in Belgium, and there's the confirmation of the fact that Patrick Tombay is definitely out of the race. That is, of course, Derek Warwick's teammate, and as Warwick is having a good season, so Tombay is having a dreadful one. Prost leading now on lap 4 out of 60, and he's getting... And that is Nigel Mansell. Well, Mansell said before this race began, I expect to be out by lap 3. How right he was, not for the reason he foresaw, because in the warm-up, the JPS Lotus cars had a lot of problems, and Eddie Cheever, that you saw come in, did, as you see, change a tyre. That was obviously due to some sort of coming together. And now Warwick seems not to be making any real ground on Piquet, and for that matter, nor is Arnoux making ground on Warwick.
Yes, that's the problem. Warwick is now in the disturbed air from Piquet's car, so his wings won't be working as well. He won't get through the corners quite as quickly as he could in cold air, and of course, when they get to the straights, the Brabham pulls away. But Alboreto, I think, has moved up into 5th place and is going really sensationally. He started 13th or 14th on the grid. He was 13th on the grid. They had trouble in practice, didn't get things timed very well, but he is flying through the field. We're just going to watch on him and see how quickly he's catching Arnoux.
Well, you can see there is Alboreto ahead of Winkelhock, and meantime Martin Brundle in the Tyrrell is in 11th place on this, the 4th lap out of 60, in the lightweight, very soft compound tired Tyrrell. There's Piquet second. Now, we'll see what this gap is between the 4th and 5th man as Warwick goes through. There is Prost.
Yes, I think Alboreto is catching Arnoux so quickly that by the time we waited another lap, I think he'll be up on his tail. He's really flying.
Now, on lap 5, Prost leads. There he is. Piquet second. Off comes Mansell's car. Warwick third. Arnoux fourth. Alboreto fifth. Winkelhock sixth. Patrese 7th, De Angelis is in 8th position, 9th is Niki Lauda, 10th is Farby, 11th and the leading non-turbo car Martin Brundle, 12th is Thierry Boutsen, in 13th position is Mark Sura, and 14th is the second Tyrrell Ford DFV car of Stefan Beloff. And we're looking at Alain Prost, who is now leading this race on lap 5 by some 4 seconds, 4.5 seconds. Keke Rosberg walking in. Well, that is a sensational development. We haven't seen the car, but Rosberg, who started 3rd on the grid, and for that matter, the world champion of 1982 in 3rd equal position in the World Championship, will not be scoring any more points in this race, walking in, obviously having parked the car somewhere as Prost goes through.
And we've got quite a gap developing now. Piquet is pulling away from Warwick.
And the lead now on lap 6 out of 60, 1/10 distance is held by the man you're looking at, Alain Prost, from Nelson. Piquet second, Warwick third, Arnoux fourth, Alboreto fifth, and Winkelhock sixth.
Double abandon la semaine dernière, ont remporté les 2 premiers Grands Prix. Prost au Brésil, Lauda devant Prost du reste en Afrique du Sud. Et l'écart augmente puisque Prost a pris 1 seconde à Piquet dans le 5e tour. Son avance est maintenant de 6 secondes et 41 millièmes sur Piquet. Warwick, lui, concède également pas mal de terrain par rapport à Piquet. Et il sera intéressant de voir bientôt revenir Arnoux sur Warwick. Arnoux qui est à 2 secondes environ de Warwick, alors que Alboreto est à 1 seconde et demie de son coéquipier. Prost connaît pour l'instant une course bien calme. Vous voyez les 2 Ferrari qui reviennent sur la Renault de Warwick. Warwick 2 podiums et l'attitude très encourageante pour les Ferrari du public italien. Alors que Alboreto revient très fort sur Arnoux. Évidemment pas de consigne. Et Alboreto devrait souffler la 4e place à son coéquipier dans ce 7e tour. Ferrari au coude à coude, cela nous rappelle un certain duel Pironi-Villeneuve ici il y a 2 ans. Lorsque Pironi avait pris le meilleur sur Villeneuve dans le dernier tour, ce qui n'avait pas du tout plu aux Québécois. Alors on me signale que Hainaut et Lafitte se sont touchés. François Hainaut et Jacques Lafitte se sont touchés et que les deux sont hors course. Alors cela fait pas mal d'abandon. Puisque après 7...
Prost leading. And you see the gap. A very, very big gap as Prost on his 8th lap goes past the Tamburello into the sweeping right-hander at the Rettifilo. We look now at Nelson Piquet, and then there should be 3 cars pretty close together, but they're not. Warwick seems to be a bit further ahead of René Arnoux than he was last time I saw him. There are the 4th and 5th cars. And Michele Alboreto, as I said from the Belgian Grand Prix at Zolder last weekend, is certainly proving to be this year the dominant driver in the Italian Ferrari team. I wouldn't expect for one moment that that was because of any preferential treatment. This is his first season in a turbocharged car, having driven for the last 3 years for Ken Tyrrell's Tyrrell Ford-powered team. And that is Riccardo Patrese getting out of his car and out of the race to join Patrick Tambay, who has retired, Mansell, who has retired, Keke Rosberg, who has retired.
Est rentré dans le box maintenant. Ici, l'on voit Palmer sur la Ram Art, qui est très loin. Palmer, qu'il est. Il n'est pas... Il y a Alliot qui occupe la 18e place. Et le 8e tour bouclé par Alain Prost. Et pour Patrese, eh bien c'est sans doute une déconvenue d'autant plus grande que Patrese dispute aujourd'hui le 100e Grand Prix de sa carrière. Il est le 19e pilote à passer le cap des 100 Grands Prix. On rappellera que Graham Hill a toujours le record dans ce genre de statistiques avec 176 Grands Prix disputés. Watson 151, Reutemann 146 et Lauda 145 aujourd'hui. À relever, Patrese donc 100 Grands Prix. Soit un de plus que Stewart et 3 de plus que Jones et Tiffert. Quant aux prochains concurrents qui disputeront leur 100e Grand Prix, eh bien ce seront l'année prochaine seulement Arnoux et Piquet, qui en sont respectivement à 83 et 82 aujourd'hui. Le tour le plus rapide, Prost 1:35.363. On est à près d'une seconde du record de Patrese de l'an dernier. Un record qui devrait être battu aujourd'hui, tandis que les deux Ferrari font une course-poursuite, avec peut-être un léger handicap de pneumatique pour les Ferrari. Des gommes qui éprouvent pas mal de difficultés à obtenir la bonne température, elles sont un peu...
Prost leads, Piquet second, Warwick third, Arnoux fourth, Alboreto fifth. Niki Lauda is now in 6th position, having passed Manfred Winkelhock 7th, Farby 8th, De Angelis 9th. Martin Brundle is now up into 10th place. A superb performance on this circuit, which certainly doesn't favour the Ford DFV powered cars. He's got about 550 horsepower at absolute maximum. And see Michele Alboreto closing up on Arnoux. And there is Niki Lauda in 6th position, certainly gaining.
Yes, Lauda coming through very quickly, whereas Alboreto was the early star. He now seems to be a little bit stuck behind René Arnoux, his teammate, which stands to reason. Two obviously totally equally matched cars, but he's got the problem of the disturbed air from Arnoux's car in front, stops him getting as close as he would like to be able to attack. And he's been like that for 3 laps or so, and he really hasn't looked like getting him anywhere on the circuit where he can get in a position to attack as yet. But and Lauda is closing fast on them.
Et puis il est temps peut-être de présenter un nouveau concurrent qui dispute son premier Grand Prix ici. Il s'agit de l'Autrichien Joe Gartner. qui s'était mis en évidence l'an dernier en Formule 2 en remportant entre autres le Grand Prix de Pau de Formule 2. Gartner qui dispose du Nozella à moteur Alpha 12 cylindres atmosphériques qui s'est qualifié au...
Not so very far away from here at Imola, and Arnoux and Alboreto behind him, and there's Niki Lauda are closing up on Derek Warwick in such a way that before very long, these three that you're looking at, and there is Lauda in 6th position, number 8, the double world champion of 1975 and 1977, catching the Ferraris who are catching very slowly. Warwick, so 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th together. Still in 7th place behind this man, Niki Lauda. 8th, Farby. 9th, the Angelis. 10th is still Martin Brundle. 11th, the Cesaris, who you remember started from the pit lane, so he's gone up from 26th to 11th. That's a good performance. Mark Sura in the Arrows BMW is 12th. Beloff is 13th. Lafitte is 14th. Boutsen is 15th. Cicotto in the Tolman is in 16th position. Baldi is 17th. Alio is 18th. Chiva out of the race. Arnoux, Alboreto, Lauda. Now Niki Lauda faster than Prost, and he's getting very close to the lap record time. At this early stage in the race, he is only 0.4 of a second off the lap record as he closes right up to Michele Alboreto, who is in 5th position.
Well, Niki Lauda is clearly the fastest man on the track at the moment, but he is, well, up until this point, he's now caught that group in front of him, and so he won't be able to show us his speed again until he can get past them. And it's going to be interesting to see now. He's well placed, he's getting a tow from Alboreto's car, and let's see how he can match him relative for straight line speed on the straight. He's not doing badly, they look pretty evenly matched. He's in the tow to get like it. Oh, when he's coming through, he's going to be able to pass him. And Lauda looks as if he's got Alboreto. Alboreto will fight back, he's got the inside, and Lauda had the wrong side. There's nothing he could do. Alboreto was absolutely correct and within his rights, but I don't think it's going to be long, and he's out dragging him up the hill, and they've really got some grip. But this is going to be a tight one. Oh, Lauda leaning on Alboreto, but both extremely sensible, experienced drivers, no danger really of them rubbing wheels. They're both too intelligent to think that a Grand Prix is one-on-one manoeuvre.
An enormous tribute to John Barnard and his McLaren design team, to Hans Metzger and the Porsche engineers that designed for TAG this V6 turbo engine, which is in its first full season of Grand Prix racing. And Niki Lauda now in 5th position, and clearly not going to be satisfied with that for very long as he closes up to René Arnoux and pulls away from Alboreto. And these TAG-powered cars have already won in Brazil, won in South Africa, finished 2nd in South Africa. No points at the Belgian Grand Prix at Zolder, but Lauda now right with Arnoux.
And if the last lap was any form point, and Lauda's got enough straight line speed when coupled with the tow that Arnoux's going to give him to get past it. But the only question is, can he get enough clear air? Because he's got to get fully ahead. Oh, and he's got the right side this time now. Lauda now will have the inside for the hairpin, and he's clearly through.
And in the process moves up into 4th position, having made an enormous amount of ground, don't forget, on Derek Warwick, who is 3rd, because Niki Lauda's come up from 8th position not so very long ago. He's disposed now of Alboreto and Arnoux, and it's not going to be very long before he disposes of the Renault of Warwick.
And taking apart the traffic problems, he is also catching teammate Alain Prost, who leads, although of course his progress is being halted to a certain extent by the traffic he's in amongst at the moment. But he's only got Derek Warwick to deal with in the immediate future, then a bit of a gap before he can attack Nelson Piquet.
The gap between Piquet in 2nd place, that we haven't seen for a little while, and Warwick, who is in 3rd position, is at the present moment 4 seconds. There's Derek Warwick in the Renault V6, as dominant over his teammate Tombay as Michele Alboreto has been this season over René Arnoux, although Arnoux, to prove me wrong, is ahead. And that is Jacques Lafitte, and that's what a disastrous race for the Williams team, with World Championship third place holder Keke Rosberg already out. Out goes Jacques Lafitte, and by the way, Eddie Cheever has rejoined the race and is now in 16th place in his Alfa Romeo, as Niki Lauda gets right up to the rear wing of third place man Derek Warwick. There is Piquet, who is second.
Yes, and Warwick looked pretty fast on the straight then. I think he's going to be a little bit more difficult to dispose of than the two Ferraris, which Niki Lauda managed to get past with quite surprising ease.
Lap 14 this is, as we look at the battle for third position between Derek Warwick in the yellow Renault and Niki Lauda, who closes right up to Warwick at the Acqua Minerale bends. Up into fifth gear now, approaching 180 miles an hour. That's where Riccardo Patrese went off in the lead in the closing stages last year. Down to the Variante Alta, that's a specially constructed series of bends to slow the cars up. Now they plunge down underneath the bridge towards the Rivazza. And the gap between Prost and Piquet, who is second, is now 14 seconds. The gap between Piquet and Warwick, and Lauda for that matter, with Arnoux catching both of them, is 4 seconds. And René Arnoux got a fresh lease of life. I suspect that is more because Derek Warwick is holding up Lauda and in the process allowing Arnoux to catch up, than because Arnoux is necessarily going all that much quicker.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Murray, and I think Nicky is probably suffering a little bit of frustration, but he's only been behind him for a lap. Now, there's a couple of back markers in front of them. This could be a hindrance or a help. Lauda's well placed this time, but he's the wrong side. He's got to come the other side. No, he's having a look, but Warwick's having none of it. Down the inside. They've got a back marker in the way. That's always like a bit of a joker in the pack. Can Lauda get the power on early? Because this is one of the places up the hill into the little chicane that he might be able to have a look. He's having a look.
And Warwick holds him off in third position. Joe Gartner in the Osella is one of...
He got the drop out of the hairpin there. Lauda, I think, is a little bit too far behind to have a look, and he's beginning to run out of ideas about how to deal with Derek Warwick. He's being slowed up by well over a second a lap, I think, by Derek Warwick, and he'll be beginning to get a bit frustrated. And I think I saw a little puff of smoke from Lauda's car then under braking, but it might just have been shadow. Yes, and there it is. Lauda's stopped. I did see a puff of smoke, and it looked like a very terminal one. So what a pity. Fine drive by Nicky once he'd recovered from that appalling start, and without any doubt the fastest car on the circuit, but not anymore.
Well, does this presage trouble perhaps with Jacques Lafitte out of the race with engine trouble for Alain Prost? I suspect it's not the engine itself that's giving problem, but the electronic management system, which is extremely complicated and which has given the McLaren-TAG team some problems in previous races. And Alain Prost is actually in his T car, in the spare car, because he had these electrical problems in practice and he was not sufficiently confident with his intended race car to turn out in it, and decided to take the spare car, the T car. So let us hope for his sake that he doesn't have a repetition of this problem. Meantime, Niki Lauda then out of the race to join previous retirees, Lafitte, Patrese, Rosberg, Mansell and Tombay. And on lap 17 out of 60, it is Prost leading, Piquet second. This great battle, which there is Prost, the leader. Warwick now will be trying to keep ahead of the new fourth place man René Arnoux, with Alboreto in fifth place, Manfred Winkelhock in sixth position, Fabi seventh, De Angelis eighth, up to ninth position Martin Brundle, and in 10th place Andrea De Cesaris. Niki Lauda walking in.
Une avance de plus de 20 secondes pour Prost maintenant.
This is the leader, some 19 seconds ahead of Nelson Piquet. And Nelson Piquet, the reigning world champion, unlike Alain Prost, who is leading this year's championship, there he is, has yet to score a point in the world championship in 1984. Prost crosses the line to complete lap 17, 60-lap race. Prost out on his own. He's got to just keep it going because it rather looks as though the only man that had a real chance of catching him, with Piquet showing no sign of doing so, that's to say Niki Lauda. It looks as though Prost just got to keep it going to keep ahead of Piquet, Warwick, Arnoux, who is now 4th, and Alboreto, who is in 5th position. Well, earlier on in this race, you saw Nigel Mansell disappearing on about the lap that I fear he expected to disappear, but not, I suspect, for the reason. Well, he's here with me. What happened, Nigel?
Well, basically, Murray, I went down the back straight, down the hill into the corner, and as I went into the braking area, I applied the brakes, but nothing happened. So instead of slowing down, I accelerated.
Where was that?
That was out the back, at the coming out of the top chicane, going down the hill underneath the bridge. My JPS Lotus this weekend, unfortunately, just has not performed very well, and my reliability with the car has suffered a little bit.
Nigel, it's been a pretty unhappy season for you. This is the 4th race out of 16, and you've yet to score a point.
Yes, you know, it came so easy at the latter part of last year as soon as I got my JPS Lotus 94T, and the 95, the JPS 95, I thought would have been much more reliable because of what we've learnt with the 94. But unfortunately, my teammate, or fortunately I should say for him, Elio De Angelis, is running very well, reliable, perhaps not as quick as we all would like. But my car seems to be suffering all the traumas of motor racing.
Well, what about your teammate De Angelis? He's in 8th position. Did he have problems in practice?
Well, he had relatively trouble-free practice, but I think it shows he was down in 11th place, so that wasn't terribly good. But looking at the TV screen with you now, Murray, I feel that the McLaren has such an advantage, certainly at the moment, that I feel Prost is in a very, very good position just to sort of sit there and sort of look after his car and shouldn't say stroke it home, but it appears he's got such a lot in hand he can do very, very easy to the car. Derek Warwick, I must say, is driving a fantastic race again, in 3rd place, in a very, very good position, and he's keeping the 2 Ferraris behind him. And at one point I thought they were closing. Yes, they look like they're closing again, but I think Derek's driving a great race.
Nigel, commiserations from us and from every British enthusiast, I'm sure, and better luck for Dijon.
Yes, indeed. That's the great thing with motor racing. It never stops, and we're an eternal optimist, and the next one is Dijon, which is only a fortnight away, so it'll come right for there.
Well, and there's a very sodden Nigel Mansell, because he really is pouring sweat, leaves the box. It's now lap 20, and in the lead, Alain Prost. There is the McLaren driver who has been so dominant this season, and he's now leading by some 23 seconds from Nelson Piquet in the Brabham BMW, who, if he keeps going, is on his way to his first points of 1984. Derek Warwick, who's just 3 seconds behind Piquet, and then in 4th and 5th positions, Arnoux and Alboreto, and up to 6th position, as you see, has come Teo Fabi, which means to say that both the Brabham BMWs, running reliably at the present moment, are in the top 6. And so, for that matter, are both the Ferraris, and there they are. The question, as we look at this picture, is there a straight race between Arnoux, who is in 4th position, and Alboreto, who is in 5th? Or is Alboreto trying to catch and pass his teammate? He surely must be at this early stage of the race.
Yes, I'm sure he is. He's, but at the same time, I would think at this stage of the race, and is that Prost going slowly? And Prost looks to be in trouble. He was coasting then. He's been, and he's got going again, maybe. How most extraordinary. Maybe he just missed a gear and had a box full of neutrals or something like that. He hasn't come into the pits, so oops, and now he's slowed down again.
I think I may know the answer. Prost in practice had this electronic engine management system I was telling you about cut out, and on one occasion he spun 3 times as the electronic system decided that it was not going to let the motor go where Prost wanted it to go, because there's now sort of an electrical system between the driver's right foot and the ignition system and the injection system of the engine, and there is little doubt that Alain Prost here on lap 21 out of 60 has struck trouble at that point. Now, whether or not it will recur or whether or not it will keep on, we will just have to wait and see. Niki Lauda out, Lafitte out, Patrese out, Rosberg out, Mansell that you've just heard out, Tombe out, and leading on lap 21 now, this man, Alain Prost. And the really significant point to me is that he is not catching Thierry Boutsen in the arrows, and Thierry Boutsen, the Belgian in this race, is driving the much slower arrows with the Ford DFV engine as opposed to the BMW turbo engine he had last week at Zolder, and which his teammate Mark Surer has got in this race. And if Prost cannot catch and get past the Arrows Ford, which he's giving an absolute minimum of 100 horsepower to, at least he's got 100 horsepower advantage over, then he really is in trouble.
Well, that's where he slowed down on the last lap, but it seems to, it looks like he's got one of those intermittent problems, because he didn't stop that time. So we may see a very strange race now for Alain Prost. He'll be keeping his fingers crossed and just hoping that the system works more than it fails to work. But it must be very difficult out there for him, because it's a computerized electronic system. And there is Arnoux coming into the pits. This is earlier than scheduled.
And the gap between the leader, Prost, and Nelson Piquet has come down from 25 seconds to 21.5. René Arnoux changing his Goodyear tyres. This is a slow stop. In practice this morning, the quicker people were doing it in some 8 or 9 seconds. So René Arnoux, some 13 seconds. And that means to say that his teammate, Michele Alboreto, will now have moved up into 4th place. Here is the race leader. How far behind him now is Nelson Piquet? It was, what did I say? I've forgotten already. Something like 22 seconds. You can see that Prost has pulled away now from the Belgian Thierry Boutsen, who he has just lapped. Yeah, I remind you that Prost that you're looking at is in the spare car, because he had these electrical problems in his intended race car. He's coming through now to complete his 22nd lap. I will start the stopwatch. I will watch out for Nelson Piquet, and I will tell you what the gap is, and you can therefore know whether the Brazilian, the double world champion of 1981 and 83, is catching the race leader and the world championship leader of 1984. There he goes, pulling away from Boutsen. As you watch Prost, so do I, and I look out of the window to wait for Nelson Piquet, who crosses the line now. Right, and Warwick is catching Piquet. I hope they show us this soon. Warwick is ahead of Nelson Piquet in 2nd position as they disappear from my sight. Derek Warwick has taken Nelson Piquet and moved up to 2nd position. And if Prost is in trouble, it could be that what Derek Warwick hoped for, and that is after his 3rd place in... and spin off! I bet you that's the same thing that happened in practice. Prost has definitely, I'm hypothesizing, but I'm virtually certain, got this engine management system problem, which caused him to do just that 3 times in practice, and he will be a very unhappy man.
Yes, he held the spin beautifully. He kept his engine running, which is not easy to do when the car flips around, and he seemed... Well, he's got going again, but he's certainly got problems. If the engine suddenly, or rather its brain suddenly starts trying to drive, we've got 2 drivers in that car, and there's bound to be a conflict of interest, as we've just seen. But he's not coming in, so he's soldiering on round. I presume, of course, that there's nothing they can do. There's no point in coming in the pits if it's deep in the electrical system. All he can do is just keep going and hope that it doesn't misbehave too badly. But this puts Derek Warwick in a very strong position. He's clawed his way back in front of Nelson Piquet, and if his car can remain healthy for the rest of the race, that looks pretty good for him. Don't forget that the Ferraris are right there behind him, and we still haven't, apart from Arnoux, we haven't had any pit stops yet. We haven't yet seen how René Arnoux going on his new set, whether they've changed compounds. The teams are guessing like mad in the pits as to whether to put on the same compound or another one because of this lack of dry running in practice. So the pit stops today could be even more significant and bring more changes than they normally do in car performances.
And as you watch the man who's still leading the race, and René Arnoux there, who is in 6th position now, having rejoined after his tyre stop. The interesting thing is that Derek Warwick is actually 26.4 seconds behind Alain Prost. Warwick in 2nd place, Prost the leader, which is bigger than the gap that existed between Prost and Piquet, but it may well be because Derek Warwick was held up getting past Piquet, and that will start to become clearer as the race goes on. And on lap 24 in this 60-lap race, Alain Prost leads. Derek Warwick is 2nd. Nelson Piquet is now 1 second behind Warwick in 3rd position. Michele Alboreto is in 4th place, not having pit stopped. Teo Fabi is up to 5th. This man, René Arnoux, is in 6th position on fresh tyres. Elio De Angelis is 7th. Winkelhock is 8th. De Cesaris is 9th. Brundle is still in 10th position. 11th is Mark Sura, and 12th is Brundle's Tyrrell teammate, Stefan Beloff. Jonathan Palmer is in 18th position, 1 lap behind, and the leader has lapped everybody up to Eddie Cheever, who is in 13th position. Warwick and Piquet together, 2nd and 3rd, lap 25. Into the pits comes Alboreto. Now, what was Arnoux's pit stop? Some 13 seconds. Start the watch now as the wheels stop rolling. Frenzied activity. The Ferrari mechanics not in their distinctive red overalls and red crash hats as last year, because it's tyres and not fuel, and there is some sort of a problem. This is a terrible pit stop for Michele Alboreto, and very shortly I expect to see Teo Fabi in the 2nd Brabham move up into 4th position. Mauro Forgeri in the yellow sweater and the blue shirt talks to Michele Alboreto.
Well, I can't quite see what they're doing there. What it appeared to be a routine tyre change, and then suddenly they got their heads into a huddle. They're fiddling around under the car. But whatever it is, he's lost so much time now that puts Michele Alboreto effectively away from any chance of contesting the lead. And look at this battle now. So Derek Warwick managed to get past Nelson Piquet, but there's plenty of fight left yet in Piquet. He's hanging on and looking to repass, and there is Alboreto. Just seen him walking out of the picture, out of his car. So that's end of the day's work for Michele Alboreto.
But the day's work for Derek Warwick and Nelson Piquet on lap 26 out of 60 continues with a vengeance. A very unhappy and a very silent grandstand sits morosely opposite this car and despondently watches the driver Michele Alboreto walk away, and into the pits the man who won the Belgian Grand Prix for Ferrari last weekend to get 9 points and move into 3rd equal position in the World Championship. No more points for Michele Alboreto from this race. Now look at this, the battle for 2nd place, with Alain Prost going well with whatever ailed him, seemingly having decided to take some time off, because he is now 28 seconds, about the same, ahead of this battle for 2nd position between Warwick and Piquet. 180 miles an hour down this descent to the Rivazza, underneath the bridge, down to second gear for this tight left-hander. Up into third here. Stay in third. Come down to the Variante Bassa, 145 miles an hour, the right-hander. Whack it back into second gear for the tight left-hander that they're approaching now. Stay there for the Traguardo, 95 miles an hour. Accelerate up to 150 miles an hour. And one of those engines seems to me to be sounding a tiny bit lumpy. If so, I suspect it was Warwick's rather than Piquet's, but let's wait and see. They are on their 27th lap, and they are some 30 seconds now behind Alain Prost, who's made a masterly recovery and is consolidating his lead almost halfway through the race as Nelson Piquet comes up alongside of Warwick to go through and take second place back from him, and does it. So maybe my guess was right, and that one of those lumpy engines was that of Derek Warwick.
Yes, I heard it as well, but Warwick didn't seem to be slow on the long straight then, so if it is sounding a bit lumpy, it's certainly not knocking a lot of power off, and these two look very evenly matched indeed. Most extraordinary thing is that Prost, who was in obvious trouble, and his engine had developed a mind of its own, or his electronics had, it seems, judging from the speed with which he's going, he's actually pulling away from this battle quite sensibly now, so one can only say that it developed a mind of its own and it's decided to behave for the time being.
That long sweeping look down through the empty track was to find Teo Fabi, who is now in fourth position ahead of René Arnoux, who's got up to fifth. Elio De Angelis is in sixth position and in the points for the third time this year. Cross the line, Piquet second, completing lap 27. Warwick third, the leader Prost, fourth Fabi, fifth Arnoux, sixth De Angelis, seventh De Cesaris, eighth Winkelhock, and in ninth position Martin Brundle. And in the pits, Elio De Angelis. He's in sixth position at the moment. You see a spurt of water there. That's water ballast which has gone into his car at the same time as the new tyres have gone on, to make sure that when this race finishes, the JPS Lotus complies with the minimum weight requirement, which is 520 kilograms. And behind him there is Marc Surer. With Marc Surer is Philippe Alliot in the Ram March. And there is René Arnoux catching Teo Fabi. Now, Teo Fabi in the white and blue Brabham, leading the Scarlet Ferrari, is in fourth place. René Arnoux, remember, went off the leaderboard for a while, the top six, after he had changed his four wheels and tyres in about 13 seconds. Remember that his teammate Michele Alboreto is out of the San Marino Grand Prix. René Arnoux is in seventh position in the World Championship with 4 points, catching Fabi. Michele Alboreto, incidentally, went out, we've just been told, with brake problems and exhaust problems. And Niki Lauda's problem was an engine. And it's 540 kilograms, by the way, the weight limit, not 520. Mix up with 220 litres of fuel. Fabi, fourth. Arnoux, fifth behind them. De Cesaris, a long way behind them, who came up from the pit lane and is now in sixth position. This is the climb from the Tamburello, which Arnoux takes very wide. Fifth gear. Flattens out a bit as they go round the left-hander at the Tosa. Now plunging downhill.
Perfect place for the toe. So he's perfectly placed if he's got the pace. And he wants to get on the left-hand side of the Brabham if he possibly can. But I don't suppose Fabi will allow that. No, he's not allowing it. And it looks like Fabio's got the corner, because the guy that side has the inside for the tight corner, and Arnoux is going to have to try and find somewhere else probably, because he couldn't really have been better placed than he was when they came onto the straight.
Arnoux puts a wheel on the grass. Fabi's making it as hard as he possibly can for the little Frenchman to get past him. And if you notice some sparks coming from underneath Fabi's car, don't worry. Those are the titanium skid plates which are fitted under the car. And Prost into the pits. This is the race leader, and he is into the pits on at the end of lap 30, which is exactly half distance. And it looks like a super pit stop. Well, hats off to the McLaren team. That's the fastest pit stop that we have timed today, 11.4 seconds. And Prost not only came into the pits in the lead, but he has left the pits in the lead, with his lead over Nelson Piquet now in second place, reduced to about 22 seconds, but still a very, very comfortable cushion indeed, with the brilliant Brazilian showing no signs of catching this year's top man, Alain Prost. The positions then on lap 31 show that Alain Prost, that we've just seen make his pit stop, leads, then Piquet and Warwick, then this terrific battle between Arnoux and Fabi, with Fabi just holding on to that fourth place and Arnoux taking it. Arnoux has now got half a car, now he's got the whole car in front, can adopt the best racing line and takes in the process fourth position from fifth place man Arnoux. From sixth place man Fabi. In sixth position is De Cesaris, and up into seventh place is Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle, who finished fifth and scored World Championship points in his first Grand Prix at Brazil, 2 points, is now almost in the points at San Marino, and if there's any car problems with the ones in front, he will certainly have at least one World Championship point.
Yes, René Arnoux has stretched a very big lead on Fabio already. He was being held up there behind him, and he's some 17 or 18 seconds behind Derek Warwick, and that is going to be the interesting thing. In fact, Arnoux is, yes, about 16 and a half, 17 seconds, and that is going to be interesting to see if he can make any headway on Derek Warwick. Remember that Arnoux has already made a pit stop. Warwick hasn't as yet, but he, as usual, I think, is trying to go the race on the same set of tyres, which may or may not be possible. I would suspect, if I had to put money on one or the other, that he won't be able to make it and he will have to stop for tyres. But he's been trying to do it all season, and we'll see if he has any success. Piquet, likewise, running similar tyres to Warwick, may well be trying to do the same thing.
We suspect that Piquet is, and we know that all the Michelin tyre users, notably Brabham, McLaren and Renault, all time their competitors' cars and their own every lap, and observe when the lap times start to get longer, the supposition being that the tyres are causing the slowing up, and at that time they have to make the agonising decision about whether to bring their men in to change tyres or not. René Arnoux, of course, on Goodyear's, and he is now in fourth position, ahead of Teo Fabi, who is fifth, De Cesaris, who is sixth, Brundle, who is seventh. Alain Prost now has got a 15-second lead over Nelson Piquet. So although he stopped for 11 seconds, and I said that would bring his lead down to about 22 seconds, I overlooked the fact that he had to slow down, and there is Manfred Winkelhock, who was in 11th position out of the San Marino Grand Prix, and a lot of the top men are out because Tombe, Mansell, Rosberg, Patrese, Lafitte, Lauda, Alboreto, and now Winkelhock are out. And the order on this, the 33rd lap out of 60, with this man, Alain Prost, in the lead by 15 seconds, is Nelson Piquet second, Warwick third. In fourth position, Arnoux. Fifth is Fabi. Sixth, De Cesaris. In a brilliant seventh place, Martin Brundle. Eighth, De Angelis. Ninth, Chiva. 10th, Beloff. 11th Winkelhock, and 12th Sura, as Winkelhock's car has that cable attached to the roll bar. I can't see any crane in evidence at this point to lift it off the course, in which case they may be using it to pull it forward for some reason. But there is Prost anyway. He's almost at the end now of his 33rd lap. But his heart must be in his mouth, because he knows his engine system is faulty. He had it in practice. He's now had a total of 4 spins, a terribly worrying situation.
Yes, except that when you're out in the lead of a Grand Prix, you always have a worry that something's going to go wrong, and all you can do is to try and put it out of your mind and get on with driving the car. Obviously, when he's got a problem like that, the engine suddenly cuts when he's in a corner, he's got to watch it and take extra care from his own point of view. But he's out there, really. The problem is up to the car, and there's not a lot that Alain can do about it, but he must be quite pleased at the moment, because having threatened, and he undoubtedly had some sort of a problem for a couple of laps, and it seems to have cured itself, as mysterious as it apparently arrived for the time being.
Ensuite, pour l'instant, il en va parfaitement de même avec Alain Prost.
Prost here, the race leader, some 18 seconds ahead of Nelson Piquet, second, is on his 34th lap and simply has to keep it going. Easier said than done, of course. There is René Arnoux, who has lapped for the third time, Joe Gartner, who is in his first Grand Prix, the Austrian driver. And that is Johnny Cecotto, who has just spun at the Acqua Minerale bends, but it does not look as though he's lost a place. Winkelhock stopped because of a misfire.
And Arnoux, as we suspected, having dealt with Theo Fabi, is now catching the Piquet-Warwick battle quite fast. He's only going to be about another 4 or 5 laps before he gets up to them at the present rate.
There's Boutsen, the Belgian, in the Arrows Ford, being caught by René Arnoux to be lapped by him. Prost, Piquet, Warwick, Arnoux, Fabi and De Cesaris. We haven't actually seen anything of André De Cesaris, which is a great pity, because he's driving a really storming race in the Ligier, which didn't start this season very well with suspension troubles. Arnoux laps Boutsen. And as I said earlier on, because he came out late for the warm-up lap, André De Cesaris was obliged to start the race, as did Alain Prost in South Africa, from the exit of the pit lane. He therefore effectively started 26th and last, and is now up to 6th position. Admittedly, because of the disappearance of a lot of the top runners. But to do well, you've not only got to be good, but you've got to be lucky. And it looks as though in this race, André De Cesaris is both. René Arnoux, 4th position. I think the fastest man in the race at the moment. His teammate Michele Alboreto out. Up to the highest point in the course. The right-left at the Variante Alta. Second gear, that is. And there's a lot of cars out of this race now, of course. Some 10 of them, which means to say there's only about 16 runners left with over half-distance run, and one of them is number 7 there, Alain Prost, leading the World Championship with 15 points ahead of Derek Warwick with 10 points, who is second in the championship, third in this race. And if they finish in the positions they are in now, Prost would increase his World Championship lead. Derek Warwick would consolidate his second place. In third position in the championship, you see, Alboreto, Lauda and Rosberg are all out of the San Marino Grand Prix. And there's going to be a real reshuffle of places, certainly after second place, assuming that Prost here, the leader, and Warwick, who is in third place just behind Nelson Piquet, both finish the race. They are on lap 36. Well,
Prost certainly seems perfectly healthy now. He's since his pit stop and since warming his tyres up and settling down, he's now gone back to, if you like, full racing pace and is steadily pulling away again from the battle for second place between Piquet and Warwick, which at the moment, of course, Piquet is in charge of, but not by any means conclusively. He's just about a second in front of Warwick, and of course Arnoux is still closing in on them from behind.
There is the man from Saint Croix in Switzerland, and he moved there in order to escape the media and public adulation in France, which was giving him no peace at all. Alain Prost, having won in South Africa, won in Brazil, second in South Africa, failed to finish at Zolder, leads the World Championship. The ex-Renault driver, second in last year's World Championship after that titanic struggle all through the season with his great friend Nelson Piquet, who of course became world champion at the South African Grand Prix, and then a disillusioned Alain Prost severely criticised the Renault team and not surprisingly was shown the door, only to be greeted with open arms by the McLaren team, and how well he has repaid their trust in him by leading the World Championship. I think his move to Switzerland may also have involved him saving some tax as well. So Alain Prost leading, Nelson Piquet now some 19 seconds behind, but only 1 second ahead of Derek Warwick, who is third, with René Arnoux fourth, 7 seconds behind Warwick, with Theo Fabi in fifth position, and Fabi is now 11 seconds behind Warwick. Sixth is De Cesaris, seventh is still Brundle, eighth is De Angelis, in ninth position is Chiva, 10th is Beloff, in the second Tyrrell, in 11th is Mark Sura, and the leader Alain Prost that we are looking at has lapped everybody up to 11th position.
Yes, engine still sounds absolutely fine as he went past us then. That was a place where he apparently cut out earlier and had no engine coming out of the tight S before the pits. But we now got to the stage of the race where I'm looking very carefully at both Piquet and Warwick. They both were of a mind to try and get through the race on the same set of tyres if they possibly could, and they've got really to the point now where if they don't change very soon, that probably means they're going to try and do it, and they undoubtedly will be very mindful of the fact that Arnoux is closing in on them, and if they stop now, that hands him second place, and they with very little chance of catching him, because remember, something like an 8-second pit stop, which is about the best you could possibly hope for stationary, costs you over 20 seconds on the road because of your decelerating and accelerating time that of course is lost as well. So they've got something like 4 seconds or 3 or 4 seconds on Arnoux, and that would just hand over. Maybe they'll stay out there and try and fight so long as they think they've got enough tyre to go.
That's Fabi in fifth position, and you saw the Alfa Romeo pit team in their distinctive green overalls, waiting presumably to greet Eddie Chiva, who is in ninth position, who's already had to come in to change his left rear tyre after some sort of a coming together at the beginning of the race, but will now be coming in presumably to change all four this time and get away on fresh rubber. I don't know why, but we've got the weather map in the top right corner, which shows that most of Italy is covered by cloud, including this part, but I'm glad to say that the cloud, which was accompanied by rain, is not today, as a result of which it's a bit sultry and humid, but the course is, as you can see for yourselves, absolutely bone dry, as Stefan Beloff there in the number 4 black Tyrrell goes through. He is in 10th position, his teammate Martin Brundle still well ahead of him, and here is René Arnoux with Derek Warwick, who is in 3rd position, and there is Piquet, and Arnoux with his tyre change completed some time ago, with Derek Warwick not having come in, and his tyres must be starting to wear quite hard now, and he's going to have to give way, I think, to René Arnoux, and if he does, it will be Arnoux 3rd and starting to close on Piquet 2nd.
Yes, the only thing he's got going for him, that the Ferrari for some reason doesn't seem terribly quick in a straight line here, and the Renault we've already seen earlier in the race is quite quick, so if I absolutely agree with you, but I think it will be undeniable soon because Arnoux's obviously got more grip. But with a bit of careful driving and getting everything right, no mistakes, and getting out of the corners quickly and cleanly, Warwick could be quite a thorn in Arnoux's side.
And I wonder if any of these tyre changes are likely to be so long that it'll give Martin Brundle a chance to move up into 6th position in the points. We'll see. Meantime, we concentrate on the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th places between Piquet, Warwick and Arnoux, and you look at Warwick and Arnoux as they disappear and now come into the Traguardo to come through and complete their 39th lap. Arnoux through and up into 3rd position, and I say again, I still think that Warwick's engine is not running as cleanly as it should do, and that's Piquet. Now there's going to be a big charge from René Arnoux, this tremendously gutsy little Frenchman who is very much liked by the Italian crowd. He used to work in Italy as a mechanic with the Conrero Formula 3 team. Then he went to Renault. He speaks fluent Italian. He has lived in Bologna, although he now lives in London. And he is a real fighter. And he will be endeavouring to regain the dominance that he had over his teammate Michele Alboreto at the beginning of the season, and which Michele Alboreto had certainly got from him at the beginning of this race. He's now in the 3rd position then, and the gap between him, Arnoux and Piquet in 2nd place is getting smaller and smaller all the time. That's De Cesaris with the red-winged Ligier, who is in 6th position. First time we've seen him in this race, has come up from 26th. He's just passed Joe Gartner. Martin Brundle, on the other hand, has lost a place to Elio De Angelis and has now slipped down to 8th position. Elio De Angelis has made his tyre stop. This is Andrea De Cesaris, the Italian who used to be with the Alfa Romeo team, who before that was with McLaren, and who surely holds the record for having been the most expensive driver in terms of having broken motor cars. And there is Piquet, 2nd, with the white-helmeted René Arnoux in 3rd position, closing up as they round the Tamburello, up the Rettifilo. And I suspect that Piquet, as Derek Warwick, is determined to go the race distance. We've now got the sight of the Michelin-tired McLaren of Prost leading the Michelin-tired Brabham of Piquet, with the Goodyear-tired Ferrari of number 28, René Arnoux, catching certainly the 2nd place man. Piquet, Arnoux. Behind Arnoux, Derek Warwick, still well in the points, of course. Piquet into the Rivazza. The flame from his exhaust is nothing to worry about. It's just turbo blowback as he goes down through the gears. And Martin Brundle, who I reported had gone down to 8th position, is now being challenged by Eddie Cheever in the Alfa Romeo.
Yes, Martin had a little bit of an Indian summer for a while then, in that all the turbos were stopping around him, so he was falsely elevated temporarily, and that's one of the arrows is just pulling off. That looks like Marc Sierra with the BMW engine. Can't see what is wrong, but obviously a mechanical problem of some sort.
Marc Sierra had a lot of handling problems in the half-hour warm-up before the race this morning. It may have been that, but it's more likely, I think, to have been some malfunction of the turbocharged system of his BMW engine.
It's interesting, I don't know whether Piquet's found a new lease of life, but René Arnoux seems to be having some difficulty in closing that gap, and not closing it nearly as quickly as I'd expected him to. So Piquet looks as if he may be able to put up more of a fight than Derek Warwick, and I would think that Derek's tyres are now getting pretty tired. He seems to have lost a bit of pace compared with the others. On the other hand, of course, Piquet, who would be on similar rubber, I don't know that he's necessarily using the same compound all round or anything like that, seems to be surviving better.
A word of encouragement to anybody who's interested in the BMW engine, which gave so much trouble at Zolder in the Belgian Grand Prix. Thus far in this meeting, both Piquet and Fabi's cars have been absolutely trouble-free.
Yeah, they did find the cause of the problem, apparently. I spoke to Bernie Eccleston this morning about it, and it was they had something wrong with the fuel that they were using, whether it was an octane rating problem or whatever, but having got rid of that and got a new batch of petrol supply, it's been all right.
Well, you're looking at the battle for second place between Piquet and Arnoux, and missing from it very clearly indeed is Derek Warwick, who surely must be coming in for tyres. There seems little point in him staying out there now. He's not in touch with the battle for second place. And by the way, you haven't seen Prost for a long time, but he's still there. He's 21 seconds ahead on his way to his second victory of 1984.
Yes, Warwick's problem, of course, is that he's only some 15 or 16 seconds in front of Teo Fabi, and a pit stop would guarantee him losing that place. There's no way he could get in, change tyres and get out on level terms with Fabi. And although his tyres may well be quite worn, he should now be calculating whether he might be able to stay in front of Fabi by staying out there.
Lap 43, the end of, coming up. Piquet second, Arnoux third. Chiva has now passed Martin Brundle and in the process moved up to 8th position.
Alain Prost has maintained station for quite a distance now at 20 seconds in front of Piquet, which makes one think, because he extended quite quickly after his pit stop from 14 to 20, makes one think that he's just conserving his car. They have turned his boost down a little bit, matched his pace to the others, and has decided not to try and build a big lead just in case there's that misfire problem, but hope it doesn't reappear, and hope that he makes sure that he's got plenty of fuel and the car is strained as little as possible.
As we look at Piquet and Arnoux battling for second, Prost, of course, on his way to another 9 points in the lead in the World Championship, would have 24, which would be an incredible number of points after only 4 of the 16 World Championship Grand Prix had been run. And it really puts him very firmly on course to become the first Frenchman ever to be world champion. I said that so many times last year and it didn't happen. But speaking from memory, Nelson Piquet got 50 plus points, about 52 points I think, for winning the World Championship last year. And Prost at the end of 4 races with 12 to go would be almost half that total. Piquet second, Arnoux third, Prost leads, Warwick fourth, Fabi fifth, De Cesare is sixth, De Angelis is in 7th place, Chiva is 8th, Brundle is 9th and still unlapped, as is Beloff, who is in 10th position. Thierry Boutsen, who is in 11th place, has been lapped, and Jonathan Palmer is still very much in the running. In 15th place, Nigel Mansell, the other British runner, out of the race a long time ago, as Nelson Piquet comes up to one of the Ram March cars. It's Philippe Alliot, I think, and passes him. Yes, on the whoops, and Piquet won't be at all happy with that, because he's being built, and that gives Arnoux the chance to close up with him.
Yes, absolutely right. He'll be well upset about that, but he's got through, and has closed the door on Arnoux, so I suppose that balances it all out. Now, Arnoux seems to have got stuck behind Piquet now, and I must say, I was just having a look during that last lap at the way Piquet is driving, and his car, I would think, has not got as much grip as Arnoux's, but he's driving absolutely immaculately. He's sliding the car nice, he's on the limit, he's smooth, he's using all the road, and he's showing us really what a superb driver he is.
René Arnoux showing too his class. Look at him. Into the left, right of the Traguardo. Now I think PK will see Arnoux very large in his mirrors as they go round the left-hander at the Tamburello, and very soon René Arnoux is going to be in a position to jink out of the slipstream of Piquet's car and go through into second position. But there's a couple of tail-enders in front of them. If Piquet is balked as he was by Philippe Alliot, by either of those two, it could give René Arnoux the chance to change direction in a split second and zap through into second position. We'll identify who the two are in just a moment. They are on now, the leaders, lap 46 in this 60-lap race. On the descent to the Rivazza again. There's Piquet. Well, in front of him, it is Cecotto and Jonathan Palmer. It's one of the Ram marches again. Piquet goes through on the left. Palmer moves over and lets him through. A stab of exhaust flame from the Hart engine, turbocharged engine. Jonathan Palmer moves over, immaculate manners, and lets them through. And there is Cecotto, who was only able to qualify in the last timed session yesterday because neither his teammate Senna nor he took part in the first timed session on Friday. And this will give Piquet plenty of opportunity to catch and get past the Venezuelan ex-double world motorcycle champion, and he does so. Piquet still second. Arnoux now taking Cecotto, still in third position. Arnoux. Johnny Cecotto's in 12th place, and Jonathan Palmer behind him is in 14th position. The leader still Prost. We are on lap 47 now. Piquet second, Arnoux third, Warwick fourth, Farby still fifth. Both the Brabham BMWs in the top five. Sixth, De Cesaris. Seventh, De Angelis. Eighth, Cheever. Ninth, Martin Brundle. In 10th position, Stefan Beloff. So both the Tyrrells are going well. And again, Arnoux gets to within, what, 10 car lengths at that point of Nelson Piquet, maybe less. They are coming through now in second and third places to complete their 47th lap. The leader, Alain Prost, has already done so. His lead is now down to a whisker under 20 seconds. It was more than that earlier on. So Prost is either starting to ease back or these two are catching him. I think it's probably the former rather than the latter. As you see, Warwick is still in fourth position, but some 25 seconds behind René Arnoux. Farby in the second Brabham BMW, fifth, and De Cesaris is still sixth. And the leading non-turbo car is that of Martin Brundle in ninth position, with his teammate Beloff behind him in 10th place. And you can see how close they are, only 0.4 of a second between them. And Winkelhock is out of the race, of course, shown there in 18th position. Marc Surer out in 17th position. But Philippe Alliot, who is 16th, is 3 laps behind the leaders. And behind these two, Derek Warwick is now in further trouble, because in 4th position he's got Teo Farby closing up on him, the little Italian who shares his driving between American racing in the big kart teams with European Grand Prix, and he's doing best in the San Marino Grand Prix of any of the ones that he has driven in. He's now in 5th position, Teo Farby, and catching the 4th place man Derek Warwick, as on their 48th lap, now their 49th, Piquet and Arnoux go through, and there is Brundle just behind Arnoux. Piquet passing Joe Gartner in the 1983 V12 Osella, not the V8 turbo-powered Alfa-engined car. Prost, Piquet, Arnoux. This is the real battle on the circuit now. Effectively, there are 8 drivers on the same lap. Then there are 3 1 lap behind, 4 2 laps behind, and 2 3 laps behind. And there are therefore 15 drivers actually running in the race at the moment out of the 26 who started. Martin Brundle has been into the pits for ballast and has been passed by his teammate Stefan Beloff. There is Beloff, or there was Beloff, but Beloff too will have to come in to take on ballast to make sure that his Tyrrell, like that of his teammate Martin Brundle, is up to the correct 540 kilograms minimum weight when he finishes the race. Prost goes through. There is Cheever, who's been lapped. There's Beloff in the distinctive number 4 black, red and yellow Tyrrell, as Alain Prost, looking smooth and completely untroubled, is now on his 50th lap out of 60, so he's just really got to keep going. Has Piquet, and this is Piquet with a blown turbo, I do believe. Look at the smoke pouring from the back of his car. We spoke too soon. I think we'll have to wait and see whether Piquet gets out to retire. Yes, he does. Out come his arms, and Nelson Piquet, who was in 2nd position, then goes out of the San Marino Grand Prix once again to score no points. A dreadful season for the world champion Brazilian, who did not score in Brazil or South Africa or Belgium, and he hasn't scored here at San Marino. And that means to say that as Prost disappears from sight, he's going to be virtually out of sight of most of the runners in the World Championship at the end of this race. Piquet, no points. Up into 2nd place, Arnoux. To 3rd place again, Warwick. To 4th place, Fabi, and he may be 3rd if he catches and passes Warwick. To 5th goes De Cesaris. To 6th goes De Angelis, back in the points again this year in the JPS Lotus. 7th, Cheever. 8th, Beloff.
And I think that was Fabi going slowly as well. So both Brabhams seem to have expired within seconds, or certainly a minute or so of each other, and that's Fabi. You can see just on the left of your screen cruising round, and he'll be coming in to the pits presumably to retire. Look fairly terminal. Meanwhile, Prost, I think, will be quite pleased to have lost Piquet when he did. There's Fabi coming slowly into the pits, and well, it's not smoking, so we don't quite know what his trouble is, but well, he's parking it into the garage, so doesn't look as if he's going to do anything again this afternoon.
Car on n'a pas vu la traditionnelle fumée blanche. Mais toujours est-il que les affaires de Brabham ne sont pas très brillantes cette saison. 4 Grands Prix avec 2 voitures et 8 abandons. Toujours avec des ennuis de turbo, sauf en Belgique où Fabi a connu une petite sortie de route. Nous sommes ici à 10 tours de la fin. Et le tiercé gagnant pour l'instant, Prost, Arnoux, Warwick. Prost favori à 3 contre 1, on vous l'a dit, dans le traditionnel tiercé des journalistes.
Jacques Deschenaux.
Oui, je vous entends, Jacques.
Bernard Santal aimerait vous poser une question qui nous intéresse tous concernant l'essence utilisée par les BMW qui semble provenir du même endroit que le moteur à peu près, mais qui ne semble pas très bien leur convenir.
Oui, quelle explication on peut donner à la suite successive de causes des BMW turbo? L'essence ou...
Je crois que si on pouvait vraiment donner une explication, on aurait pu trouver un remède en même temps. Il semble qu'il s'agisse d'essence, d'une essence un peu particulière. Ce sont par rapport aux essences que nous utilisons tous sur nos voitures. Il s'agit d'une essence qui a une densité peut-être un tout petit peu plus élevée et un indice d'octane également un petit peu plus élevé, mais il y a une fourchette et des normes qui font que les essences, sans être parfaitement identiques, peuvent rester tout à fait réglementaires. et que sur ce moteur BMW, on essaye de développer un nouveau type d'essence qui permettrait peut-être de moins consommer. Et ce type d'essence ne semble pas du tout convenir au moteur BMW. Du reste, seuls le BMW de la Brabham, des deux Brabham sont alimentés par cette essence. Les BMW de la voiture de Sourer et de l'ATS de Winkelhock utilisent...
They'll be getting an extra twitch soon because there is a very distinct possibility that if Prost comes in, the lead will change. We are now on lap 52 out of 60. It seems to me highly unlikely that Prost will come in, but he's coming towards the end of the lap now, so let's wait and see.
Yes, he's also speeded up a bit again. He's extended the gap over Arnoux. Arnoux, of course, it could be that Arnoux is nursing, wanting to make sure to finish, has decided that he's not going to catch Prost and that he's got a big lead over Warwick, so he may well just be settling for second place. If there's some doubt in his mind over fuel, he'd rather be second than nowhere.
Warwick has lost third position to Andrea De Cesaris, out of your sight, but the Renault star, Britain's Derek Warwick, is down to fourth position. There goes Prost through the picture, and now we wait to see René Arnoux appear in second place. Now you're looking down the course through the Traguardo, that distinctive series of bends at the end of this 3.13 mile lap at Imola, and here is the second place man René Arnoux approaching them on his 53rd lap now. Prost leads, Arnoux second, De Cesaris third, Warwick down to fourth, De Angelis fifth, Cheever sixth, Belloff seventh, and he's going to have his time cut out to hang on to his fourth place, because Elio De Angelis is starting to challenge the Englishman. Elio De Angelis in fifth position, who finished third in Brazil and fifth in Belgium, and is sixth place in the World Championship. That's René Arnoux going through, and Derek Warwick is in sixth place now. He's only just in the points. The order is, on this lap, Prost leading, Arnoux is second, De Cesaris is third, Elio De Angelis is fourth, and Eddie Cheever and Warwick are fighting for that position.
Yes, and De Angelis is well up with Cheever. There's a big battle developing there for third place, and Warwick hasn't got too big a gap on Eddie. Oh no, I beg your pardon. He's well ahead of Cheever, so Warwick's place should be safe. He should be able to soldier around, so long as his misfire doesn't get any worse. It's got slowly and progressively worse during the race, but no reason to suppose that it will expire altogether.
Yes, Derek Warwick fifth, Eddie Cheever some way behind actually now, and it's Prost, Arnoux, De Cesaris, De Angelis, Warwick, and then Cheever, who has been lapped. Eddie Cheever in sixth position by Alain Prost. Seventh is still Belloff, yet to come in. Eighth is Brundle, been in. Ninth is Boutsen. And there is Elio De Angelis, the only one of the two JPS Lotus starters still in the race. And he, as you see, is right up with Andrea De Cesaris, who is in third position. So the two Italians, De Cesaris in the Ligier in third position, and De Angelis in the JPS Lotus in fourth place, battling on the circuit on lap 54, with Prost well away in the lead, Arnoux well away in second place. The gap between Prost and Arnoux, 26 seconds, so Prost really does only have to keep going now, with very little of this race left. And this is the excitement in the San Marino Grand Prix, the battle for third, De Cesaris and De Angelis. Both in Renault-powered cars, V6 Renault turbo engines. The Ligier in third place, the JPS Lotus fourth. And again, as there has been in the past with other drivers, these two are closing up on a tail ender to lap him, and if he doesn't move over, there could be a change.
Yes, what you have to remember is that when two cars are in a battle and they lap a back marker, the only guy at any disadvantage is the chap who's leading the dice, because if the back marker does move over or otherwise cause problems and it doesn't go smoothly, the chap who's following obviously hasn't lost anything, even if he gets badly held up, as long as he can catch it up again. But the guy in front is always under threat, and so you requires great concentration from the driver. When you're coming up behind a back marker, you have to plan, you have to try and look at the whites of his eyes and his mirrors and see if you can work out what he's thinking, try and mind read him from behind, and then try and nip through. And it requires quite a bit of judgment and timing if you're not confident of the person in front.
And I think the man they're catching, I only just caught a glimpse of him, was Mauro Baldi, who we've heard little of and seen less of, who is in 10th position in the Spirit Heart car at the moment, as De Cesaris and De Angelis go through now on their 56th lap, 3rd and 4th. It's got to be a chain. They've got to catch and pass this tail ender soon. It is Mauro Baldi. Baldi in the Spirit Heart-powered car is taken by De Cesaris in the Ligier Renault. Now he's got to keep wide and let De Angelis through, and it looks as though he's going to do just that as they go up the hill towards the Rettifilo, to the sweeping left-hander at Tosa, and then onto the Piratella. But certainly De Angelis has lost a lot of ground to De Cesaris. He was much closer than this, and he's through and past and laps Baldi. And the order is Prost, Arnoux, De Cesaris, De Angelis that you're looking at now. Warwick is 5th and Chiva is 6th. And the leaders have lapped everybody up to Derek Warwick. Beloff has stopped for ballast, which means to say that Martin Brundle will regain the place that he lost to the German. Or should do. We'll have to wait and see whether that happens. And the leader is on his 57th lap, out of 60 now. There is on the right, the Williams of either Jacques Lafitte or Keke Rosberg, both of whom went out early in this race, as have done Tombe, Mansell, Patrese, Lauda, Alboreto, Winkelhoff, Sura, Piquet and Fabi. The leader now on the closing stages of his 57th lap. And Martin Brundle in 8th position is still behind Stefan Beloff. And that is Philippe Alliot, number 9 in the white and green Ram march, as here the leader, Alain Prost, has now lapped Derek Warwick. There goes Prost through. The next car behind him is Derek Warwick, who was so well up earlier on in this race, but looks as though by soldiering on he is going to still finish in the points. He's in 5th position. He'll get 2 points for that, because he's well ahead of Eddie Cheever, who was lapped by the leader a long time ago. 3 laps to go. Well, if Prost wins this race, and my goodness, he's on target to do so, he will really have deserved to have done so, because he's had to face all sorts of adversity, and he's mastered his problems superbly. And what a magnificent race it has been for the McLaren-TAG team. What a magnificent season it's been for the McLaren-TAG team. They won in Brazil with this man, Alain Prost. They won in South Africa with his teammate Niki Lauda, who has long since retired from the San Marino Grand Prix. Alain Prost was 2nd in South Africa. They certainly had an off day in Belgium at Zolder last Sunday, when neither of them finished. And although Lauda has retired from this race a long time ago with, we suspect, engine management system problems, in spite of his worries in that area, Alain Prost here is in the closing stages of the San Marino Grand Prix, indeed on his 58th lap, just completing it now. He's on his last lap but one. There are only some 6.26 miles, less than that now, between him and the victory flag for the second time this year, and following an immaculate drive.
Yes, I should think Prost has really had an easier day's work. He's been utterly dominant, been able to turn, his car has worked so well for him that he's been able to put on speed every time he's wanted to, and apart from that little problem with the engine cutting out, or it appeared to be that he suffered for a couple of laps after about 1/3 distance, everything's gone absolutely smoothly, and he's now just got to make it to the line 1.5 more times round, and he'll be home and dry. Disappointing race for Lauda, who was, and for us viewers, because he was the only person on the circuit who looked as if he could give Alain Prost a run for his money, because both Marlboro McLarens...
Sorry, James, but De Cesaris has just gone limping past the pits within our sight, but not within the sight of the viewers, and that means to say that Elio De Angelis should be snatching that third position from his Italian countryman. Indeed has done so, with the leader Alain Prost coming up to start very shortly his last lap. Drama right to the end of this Grand Prix, as has so very often happened in the past. I'm sorry to have to tell you that that Brundle has gone missing from our lap charts. We're watching anxiously for him, but with the leader now just starting his last lap, Alain Prost. René Arnoux is still in second place, but some 24 seconds behind the victorious, or soon-to-be victorious, Frenchman, with Derek Warwick trying to unlap himself. Is this significant, I wonder?
Just that Prost has slowed right down.
And there is confirmation of the fact that the very unhappy Andrea De Cesaris is out of the San Marino Grand Prix, as the leader goes to the halfway point on his 60th and last lap. So it is Prost, Arnoux, De Angelis third. Warwick moves up to fourth. Again from the Frenchman, which gives him 24 points to increase his World Championship lead over Derek Warwick, with René Arnoux there finishing in second place. Stefan Beloff crossing the line to finish, all this subject to official confirmation, in sixth place. And that is the second John Player Special Lotus, and it's Elio De Angelis stationary. Now, I cannot tell you at the moment how De Angelis will be placed, because I made the mistake last weekend of failing to remember that Keke Rosberg, although he retired on the leader's last lap, was nevertheless able to have done enough distance to finish in fourth place. So it looks as though, with Eddie Cheever having stopped too, I suspect having run out of fuel, again we got a tremendously confusing and dramatic situation in the last lap of a Grand Prix. But definitely Alain Prost has won at San Marino to increase his World Championship lead, to further increase the McLaren lead in the Constructors' Championship over Ferrari, with René Arnoux in second place, with, I frankly don't know who's third until I know what's happened to De Angelis, but I believe De Angelis will be third, Warwick will be fourth, Cheever will be fifth, and Beloff will be sixth.
Avec ici, on se précipite sur la voiture de Lauda. Alors un spectacle caractéristique à l'Italie, que ce public qui envahit la piste. Mais on aimerait être sûr de... Alors De Angelis sera quand même classé à un tour, évidemment, puisque personne n'est dans le même tour. Puis quatrième Warwick, alors que l'on va faire un mauvais sort à la voiture de Tambay, je ne pense pas. Cinquième Beloff, sixième Boutsen. Cheever a disparu de la circulation et l'on salue avec beaucoup de plaisir le premier point, puis septième De Cesaris, huitième Cheever. On salue avec beaucoup de plaisir le premier point remporté dans une épreuve du championnat du monde par Thierry Boutsen. On va faire immédiatement voir la situation au championnat du monde, où Prost consolide son avance. Il a maintenant 24 points. Warwick, qui est quatrième, reste deuxième avec 13
So, after dominating throughout and coping magnificently with very real problems, Alain Prost wins his second Grand Prix of the year, ahead of René Arnoux, with Elio De Angelis third in spite of stopping on the last lap, Derek Warwick fourth, Stefan Belloff a magnificent fifth, and Thierry Boutsen sixth. Prost increases his World Championship lead to a massive 11 points over Warwick, whilst De Angelis and Arnoux now tie for third, with Alboreto, Lauda and Rosberg all on 9 points for fifth. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren move even further ahead of Ferrari, 14 points ahead, with Renault third, JPS Lotus fourth and Williams fifth. A great, great day for McLaren and for Alain Prost then.